there, welcome to the backyard of the Winter's Heritage House. I want to show you around our garden today. This garden was built for us by a local Girl Scout troop who put their names on the fences. They were restoring a previous version of this garden, but did such a fantastic job. Inside the fence, we have a raised bed pattern. The four sides of the garden have long, narrow beds. And the center of the garden has a wide, kind of a rectangular area that's a little bit larger. Now this is an in-town raised bed garden. In the colonial era on a farm, a Pennsylvania German Hausfrau would have had about 4 times the size of a garden to support her family. The outer beds were usually reserved for herbs and medicines and dye plants. And there would have been 4 large center beds, again quite a bit bigger than what we have here, and that would have been for vegetable production. At the size we're at, with the Girl Scout effort that we had last summer and spring, we've dedicated this garden to herb growing. We have culinary herbs, medicinal herbs, and then we did put a few vegetables in the center. And the girls did a great job tending it all last spring. As you can see, some of the beds are empty. Some of the plants didn't winter over. The ones you do see actually survived our winter. So I'm going to go around quick and explain what's in here. This is comfrey. This is a medicinal herb. The leaves are they have little tiny fuzzes on them. But it's a very good herb for healing bruises. If you have a broken bone and you lay this against and wrap it against a sore spot or against the area that needs healed, it's a very strong healing plant. I don't think it's a recommended tea any longer, but in colonial times they would often cut it up and drink it in tea. I think since then they've determined that that's not the healthiest thing to do on a regular basis. This is lemon balm, and it wintered over pretty well for lemon balm. It's in the mint family. The leaves, when you break them, smell like mint, or smell like lemon, and it makes a wonderful tea. And over here we have thyme. Oh my goodness, the thyme did great. There's a couple different varieties here, and now I'm having a hard time determining where they begin and end. And then at the end bed here we have mint. So mint's a wonderful plant to have, but it's very invasive. As you can see, this one type, I think it's a chocolate mint, actually spread all but out of its bed, and now it's growing in my walkway. This one we contained with a plastic tub, so the roots are in the tub and hopefully can't escape that, and that's a good way to keep your mint. That one stayed put. That's a spearmint, and that makes a lovely tea. Echinacea also wintered over well. This was a very important medicinal plant in the colonial times. It'll grow a lovely, almost like a daisy-like flower to it. We don't really harvest it for medicinal purposes ourselves, but it's fun to be able to show it off in our garden. This is sage. I'm not sure what variety survived. We had several different ones growing in this particular corner, but this one's lovely, and it really is doing very well for surviving a winter. And this, believe it or not, is parsley. There is something about this garden that things just love, and look how big that parsley has grown. I'm not sure how or why. I'm going to be cutting that off short and hanging it upside down to dry, and then we will be packaging that for sale in the museum store. But what a lovely plant. We have a few little lavenders that wintered over, but I think I'm going to have to replace a few of them. Lavender is a lot of fun. There's a lot of things you can do with lavender. Maybe we'll get into that as we go through the summer. Hopefully we'll be out of quarantine, but we'll still be posting fun things online. And then this is not a lavender. This is actually chamomile. Isn't that pretty? It's going to get a lovely little daisy flower that's just starting to form here. And the center of these flowers is what you crush up for chamomile tea. That is a volunteer, meaning it just grew where it wanted to. It popped up from another part of the garden. I think chamomile doesn't winter over, but it reseeds itself, and again, it's another lovely plant to have, so we just let it grow wherever it likes. In this corner of our center bed, we have some chives. They're always handy to have and lovely to add to any kind of soups or stews or just about any dishes that you're making. And over here is rosemary. That's another one that's so easy to dry and have all winter, but boy, when it's fresh, it's just lovely. Crumble just a little bit of rosemary on chicken and roll it around in some olive oil and bake it. And oh my goodness, such a nice herb to have. And then over here we also had some oregano, and that did really well over the winter as well. I'm not that surprised though. Oregano is also a member of the mint family. But again, very helpful if you're planning on seasoning any Italian dishes. You certainly need oregano on hand. Now here you can see that the basil didn't do so well. There was a lot of fun varieties of basil in here, and I think I'm going to go hunt some of those up at the Cloverleaf Herb Farm later on this week. And now that the frost season's over, it's time to get planting. So that's our garden. You can see how the beds have been constructed by those handy Girl Scouts. They're raised about the width of the board, which is about 10 inches, and then mulched with bark mulch. Now the Girl Scouts supported their beds from inside with a stake, and they put the boards upright and then drove a stake down alongside them, and then they fastened in from the outside with screws. That holds the beds. You can also put these stakes on the outside of your garden boards. I don't know that it's truly a trip hazard, but then they would appear on the vertical surface of the walkway. But possibly be a little more structurally functional that way by holding that raised dirt in. Right now the boards are probably pulling against that stake, but it looks lovely. No, not that much dirt pushing really. So I hope you enjoyed a trip to our gardens. I hope you're planning on gardening this season. Gardening is a really important skill to develop, and anybody can do it. Remember to start small if you've never gardened before. You'll learn a lot faster if you don't overwhelm yourself, and it's a lot of fun. All right, thanks for visiting the Winter's Heritage House. Hope you're all doing well.
Thank you.